Intricate. Adjective. Having many connected parts that are hard to untangle quickly. The intricate mural wound across the stairwell, and she climbed slowly, tracing each painted doorway until the last landing felt like a small museum. Discernible. Adjective. Clear enough to be noticed or recognized. From the far end of the platform, a discernible change in the light told him the train was rounding the bend, even before the rails began to sing. Brusque. Adjective. Speaking in a blunt way that can seem rude. His brusque reply in the crowded shop made her step back, but she saw his hands shaking as he searched for the right coins. Vindictive. Adjective. Eager to hurt someone in return for a slight. The email sounded calm at first, yet the vindictive tone showed in the careful way it copied half the office and underlined every mistake. Avert. Verb. To prevent something bad from happening. She caught the toddler's sleeve and averted a tumble down the porch steps, then laughed with relief as the wind snapped the screen door behind them. Proponent. Noun. A person who supports an idea or cause. As a proponent of public transit, he arrived early to the council meeting with a folded map, a thermos of coffee, and a row of notes covered in tidy handwriting. Idiosyncratic. Adjective. Unusual in a way that is specific to one person. Her idiosyncratic system for labeling pantry jars made perfect sense to her, and guests stared at the shelves as if they were reading a private code. Subside. Verb. To become calmer or less intense. When the shouting finally began to subside, the room filled with small sounds again, a chair scraping, a pen clicking, and someone exhaling as if they had been holding their breath. Understated. Adjective. Deliberately simple and not showy. His suit was understated, dark and well-fitted, and it made the bright tie he chose look like a quiet signal rather than a demand for attention. Fickle. Adjective. Changing quickly and unpredictably. The weather was fickle all afternoon, sun spilling over the river, then rain rattling the leaves, then a sudden stillness that made the city seem far away. Opulent. Adjective. Rich and luxurious in a way that feels abundant. They stepped into an opulent lobby where marble shone under soft lights, and even their footsteps seemed to echo with a polished confidence. Morose. Adjective. Sullen and gloomy in mood. He grew morose as the evening stretched on, stirring his soup without tasting it while the rain slid down the window in slow gray lines. Frivolous. Adjective. Not serious or sensible, especially when something important is at stake. She resisted making a frivolous joke during the briefing, because the faces around the table were tight with worry and the maps were marked in red. Tenet. Noun. A principle that a group or person believes strongly. One tenet of his teaching was patience, so he let the class sit with silence until the answer rose naturally instead of being dragged out by pressure. Reluctance. Noun. Unwillingness that holds you back from acting. With clear reluctance, she handed over the old keys, and the metal felt heavier than it should have as the landlord closed his palm around them. Serenity. Noun. A peaceful calm that feels steady and unbroken. The lake held a rare serenity at dawn, and she watched the pale mist hover above the water as if it had nowhere else to be. Demeanor. Noun. The outward behavior and mood a person shows. Her demeanor stayed warm and measured, even when the questions turned sharp, and the air in the room felt suddenly thin. Pervade. Verb. To spread through and be present throughout. A smell of cinnamon began to pervade the hallway, and by the time the cookies were out, even the upstairs neighbor had drifted down with a hopeful smile. Unsettle. Verb. To make someone feel uneasy or unsure. The empty playground at noon unsettled him, and he kept glancing at the swings as if they might start moving on their own. Depict. Verb. To show or describe something in a vivid way. The photographer managed to depict the storm without drama, just wet streets, bent umbrellas, and one small dog refusing to hurry. Provoke. Verb. To cause a reaction, especially an emotional one. Her careful question did not provoke anger, but it did provoke honesty, and the conversation shifted from polite talk to something real. Intransigent. Adjective. Unwilling to change your view or agree. The vendor was intransigent about the deadline, so the team rearranged their weekend, working late with takeout boxes stacked by the printer. Detrimental. Adjective. Causing harm or damage. Skipping sleep felt detrimental after the third night, and he could hear his own thoughts turning sluggish as the screen glowed too bright in the dark room. Disillusioned. Adjective. Disappointed because reality failed to match your hopes. He left the conference disillusioned, clutching a glossy brochure, while the lobby chatter blurred into noise that sounded like promises breaking. Arbitrate. Verb. To settle a dispute by listening to both sides and deciding fairly. They asked her to arbitrate the argument over the shared studio, and she walked them through each complaint until the solution felt ordinary and workable. Distill. Verb. To reduce something to its most important parts. Before the pitch, she distilled weeks of research into a single page, and every line had room to breathe instead of fighting for space. Reverberate. Verb. To echo and continue to be felt or heard. The closing chord reverberated through the theater, and for a moment nobody clapped because the sound still seemed to hang in the air like dust in sunlight. Stagnant. Adjective. Not moving or developing, and starting to feel lifeless. The discussion turned stagnant after the same points circled for an hour, and she opened a window so cold air could wake the room. Authentic. Adjective. Genuine and not copied or fake. The apology felt authentic, not polished for effect, and he spoke slowly, looking her in the eye as if he could not afford to waste a word. Temper. Verb. To soften or moderate something strong. He tried to temper his excitement with caution, repeating the details aloud so he would not mistake hope for a plan. Perturb. Verb. To disturb someone's calm or focus. The sudden knock did not frighten her, but it did perturb her concentration, and the sentence she had been shaping collapsed into a blank stare. Allure. Noun. A powerful attraction that is hard to resist. The allure of the empty road at sunrise tempted them to skip breakfast, and they drove out with coffee cups warming their hands and the radio turned low. Imbue. Verb. To fill something with a particular feeling or quality. Years of cooking had imbued the kitchen with comfort, and even on hard days the smell of onions in the pan made the room feel forgiving. Apprehensive. Adjective. Worried that something may go wrong. She was apprehensive before the audition, smoothing her skirt with damp palms while the muffled music behind the door sounded confident and far away. Mutable. Adjective. Likely to change, especially in ways you cannot fully predict. His schedule was mutable during the renovation, so he kept a notebook in his pocket and learned to plan dinners like weather forecasts. Robust. Adjective. Strong and able to handle stress or heavy use. They needed a robust process, so they tested each step twice, wrote clear checklists, and practiced the handoff until it felt natural. Cumbersome. Adjective. Awkward to carry or handle because it is large or complicated. The cumbersome box of donations kept slipping in his arms, and he shuffled sideways through the doorway like a careful crab. Lopsided. Adjective. Uneven in a way that feels unbalanced. The debate grew lopsided, with three loud voices filling the air while the quieter members stared at their notes and waited for space to speak. Incumbent. Adjective. Required as a duty or responsibility. It was incumbent on her to call the client before rumors spread, so she stepped into the hallway, found a patch of quiet, and told the truth without decoration. Cohesive. Adjective. Connected and working together as a unified whole. By the final rehearsal, the group sounded cohesive, and the rough edges that had annoyed them earlier now felt like texture instead of chaos. Bemoan. Verb. To complain about something in a way that shows regret or frustration. He did not bemoan the lost weekend, but the way he stared at the unopened trail map made it clear he felt the absence like a bruise. Unravel. Verb. To come apart or be understood as hidden details are revealed. The mystery began to unravel when the neighbor mentioned a late-night delivery, and suddenly every small clue lined up like streetlights on a long road. Altruistic. Adjective. Caring about others' well-being more than your own benefit. Her altruistic choice to cover the shift was quiet, and she left no dramatic message, just a warm cup of tea waiting by the register. Exuberant. Adjective. Full of lively energy and joy. The children were exuberant after the first snow, racing down the hill until their cheeks burned and their laughter turned into little clouds. Ardor. Noun. Strong enthusiasm and passion. He spoke with ardor about the project, tapping the table lightly as if the idea itself were a living thing that needed steady attention. Coax. Verb. To gently persuade someone or something to do what you want. She had to coax the old engine to life, turning the key twice, listening closely, and waiting for the cough that meant it was ready to cooperate. Ominous. Adjective. Giving a sense that something bad may happen. The sky looked ominous over the field, and the sudden hush in the trees made them pack up faster, folding the blanket with hands that had started to hurry on their own. That's everything for this session. If this helped you, subscribe for more. See you next time.